to all of you. If it's not, I'm hoping that by midday today, we will have changed that into a good morning. So good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nicholas Motsatse. I'm your program director for this conference. Today and tomorrow, I will be steering the conference. The good thing about being the program director is that you do not say much. You just say people's names and the program runs. But I am delighted that we are here today. I am from an organization called BOM, which is a strategic partner to the college, to Lovedale College, and have been involved in the, together with the college, in the production of this conference. I am delighted that this day has arrived because I believe that this is a very important gathering for a very important purpose. That at the end of these 2 days, we will have done and achieved something a lot more meaningful for the sector and also for the country. I believe that the TVET colleges play an important part in the sector, and it is important. Let me first start by honoring the Council of the Lovedale College, of the Lovedale TVET College, for having made it possible that this conference should take place. Therefore, to the chairperson as well as the council members who are here, I honor you and we are grateful that you made it possible. Let me also greet and honor the acting principal, Mrs. Thulethi Njengele, who has been actively involved in ensuring, who came with this vision and actively involved in ensuring that it carries through. And also let us acknowledge, I'd like to acknowledge the representatives of the Department of Higher Education and Training who are here, who are really the leaders of the sector. And we are delighted and thankful that you are with us today. I also acknowledge the representation from the province, the Eastern Cape province, with us today. It is an important event that's happening in the city, but also I think it illustrates the critical partnership between the sector, the higher education sector, and the state. I also want to welcome and acknowledge the principals from other TVET colleges who are with us today. Nothing is more important than the support from peers and colleagues and the commitment of peers and colleagues to making sure that this happens. I do know that a number of principals have made significant effort to ensure that they are here as well as their teams are here. So we acknowledge you and we are thankful. And we also acknowledge all the academic leaders, the student leaders and leaders from the labor movement, and everybody that is really involved in the policy formulation, policy ownership, technocrats in the space. We acknowledge all of you. The context of this conference today is really the beautiful story of the Lovedale College, because this year, I don't know if many of you know, but you might have seen from the branding that the college celebrates its 200 years in existence this year. In other words, it's bicentennial anniversary this year. And that is really the context and the backdrop against which we are having this conference. It is supposed to be possibly one of the most celebrated events in the higher education sector, because Lovedale College has been a pioneer in giving birth to a number of leaders in this continent, but also the giving birth to other institutions in this space. So I think that it's been something that is commendable. And I'm going to ask you that before we go anywhere with the program, we just give the Lovedale College a very big round of applause and congratulations for its 200th year anniversary. To be 200 years, it means that you have the history of generations, not just the history of people, but the history of generations, and I think it is very significant. And we'll hear more about that as this conference goes, but also we'll hear a lot about that as the year proceeds, because I know that Lovedale College has planned a series of milestones and things to mark this particular important year. And this is the first of such. This is the first in a series of events that are going to be happening throughout the year in marking that. And the beauty about that is that it is not just about partying, but it is about thought leadership. It's going back, the college is going back to its roots, where it had been in the forefront of education in this country. It had been in the forefront of thought leadership. It had been in the forefront of intellectual development and the intellectual capital of our country. And it is gratifying and pleasing to see that the leadership of the college recognize that, and that in this 200th year of its existence, we need to get back there. It also happens, this conference happens within the context not only of the bicentennial anniversary, but in the very important context of the skills revolution in the world. We live in the world where we are seeing a revolution around skills, and the TVET colleges in our country play a very important part. And to take this time as a sector to reflect and say, how do we make sure that we are not left behind, but that we are still in charge and in control of that, is a very important discussion. And I think through the discussions around policies, it's going to be important. This conference is entitled the Policy Development Conference. It is a conference where we are looking at the policies that are governing our institutions in their individual capacities, but also us as a sector. And therefore it is quite important, because you can have strategy, you can have plans, but unless you have an enabling policy framework, it is difficult to achieve those. So it happens, or the purpose that this conference happens is very, very important, that we know as a sector where we are going, and that we put together enabling policies that are going to lead them. But it's not just about the policies themselves, but it's also to establish a network. I know that in different ways, colleagues from different departments do talk and do liaise with each other. But I think it is important that we establish a network like this, where we can come from different places, share ideas, share best practices, and advise each other, and build friendships in that process. The friendships that are going to make sure that we move forward as a sector. The program, therefore, is being structured in such a way that it allows us to achieve these things. When you walk at the back here, or just before the reception desk, when you look through the corridor and the passage, you will see an exhibition there. It is the bicentennial exhibition of the artwork by the students of the college. And I would advise you to go and really go and feed your eyes and your mind through the beautiful art and the interpretation of what the 200 years means to the students of this college. It is a theme that you will also see recurring throughout the year, and you will see quite a lot of artwork. And I would really encourage those of you who are in the sector to get yourself a piece, an art piece that you can always connect to this beautiful celebration. So part of the program is to allow us to be able to explore what is happening within the college. The program for these 2 days is structured that we have 3 types of engagements. We will have the plenary session as we are having now, where we'll have some keynote addresses. And then we will also have plenary sessions where we will have panel discussions, and also we will have breakaway sessions. Just a word on the breakaway sessions. They will be happening in different rooms, and we will announce that closer to the time. But outside, there are registration forms that we're asking you to complete, so that you can be allocated. So we've allocated 50 spaces in each of those breakaway sessions. So make sure that if there's a particular commission or breakaway session that you are interested in, make sure that your name is in there as early as possible, so that you do not find that session is full. And we are delighted that we have excellent facilitators, and we believe that the outcomes of those sessions are going to be important. In fact, that's the nub. In those breakaway sessions, that's where the real work of policy development will be happening, as we will be working as teams in those sessions. So I believe that we are in for a wonderful treat in these 2 days. If you're involved in the sector, you will have every reason to enjoy and celebrate, what is happening. At this point in time, we're going to open the conference, and we are really honored to have a participation of the host province to this conference. The Eastern Cape Province, Mr. Kwabe is the DDG in the Premier's office, and he's with us today. Mr. Kwase, not Mr. Kwabe. I was about to give him a different name. Mr. Kwase is a DDG in the Premier's office, and he's going to be coming forward and opening this conference for us. Over to you, sir. Let's give him a round of applause as he comes.
Program Director, the Acting Principal, the staff of the Lovedale TVET colleges, as well as the management and the representatives from other colleges, not only from within the Eastern Cape, but also beyond. I was told that there are also other TVET colleges from other parts of the country that are attending this important session. The senior management from DHET, our social partners, I saw students as well as labor representatives being part of this important session. The private sector representatives, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I want to first tender the apology of the Director General, Mr. Sogoni. You'll recall that last week on Friday, we had State of the Province address by the Premier. So today and tomorrow is the debate of that State of the Province address. So I was also supposed to be attending that debate at the legislature. So the DG is attending that session. That's why he is not here. So he has asked me to represent him in this session. When I read the letter, the invite, and what is expected from the DG, it was some kind of a combo for those who have been using KFC. It's a very funny arrangement. It's an opening address, it's not opening remarks. So I didn't know to open a conference, but you're also expected to delve on the side of an address. It's just like being asked to make a message of support, and you decide to do a keynote message. And there's no such a thing as a keynote message. A message is a message, short and to the point. But because I've been part, at least, of this sector, and I've been working with this sector, both as a former MEC for education when the TVET colleges, in fact, they were not TVET colleges at the time, they were FET colleges. They were still with us as a province. And then 2010, 2011, then shifted to Department of Higher Education. And I must say we're starting to shape up. I'm not sure 12 years after they went to DHET Nindawo Ninguku. But I'll talk to some of the elements that we have observed as the provincial government, as we are interacting with the private sector. What are the concerns of the private sector? We are meeting here at the beginning of the fourth decade of freedom. And after we have celebrated an uninterrupted 30 years of freedom and democracy. Njengoba kwezinye countries kuvuka civil war nje. Thina South Africa khange sibe nayo lodwa. We enjoyed our freedom and democracy uninterrupted for the past 30 years. And by so saying, I'm not saying there were no challenges that we were confronted with. But there were a lot of successes also that we achieved in that period. About 2 weeks ago, we also listened to the President delivering his State of the Nation address, outlining policies, choices, and priorities of the 7th administration. Ndiyakonda kuba ke lo abet uyafuna ndimfake le adult basic education. From 2019 to 2024, we're in the 6th administration, which means in the 6th electoral term. So now we are in the 7th electoral term, and we call it 7th administration. As we get in each chunk of 5 years, it's an administration that follows another administration that was there before. So we're now getting into the 7th administration. So the President outlined very clearly 3 priorities that we'll be focusing on as a country. And the provinces are also expected to align with those priorities. This time around, we have reduced our priorities, I think, from 7 to 3 priorities only. Because we tend to spread our focus thinly over a number of priorities. And we achieve very little out of those. We sprinkle also the little money that we have over a number of things, and we achieve nothing at the end. So, the government of national unity decided to reduce those and focus on three things that we need to grapple with in the next 5 years. One, inclusive growth and job creation. Because we have this challenge of unemployment, poverty, and inequality in the country. Secondly, the second priority is reducing poverty and tackling the cost of living as a second priority. The third priority is building a capable, ethical, developmental state. The former Vice Chancellor of was it Johannesburg or Wits? I think Johannesburg, Professor Mahwala, wrote a book on the leadership in the 21st century, titled Leadership in the 21st Century. In that book, he calls upon the South African leadership as well as the African leadership to draw lessons from countries like China, which has put this issue of meritocracy at the center of the way they are doing things and they are managing the state. Just to make one example, in 2017, we were visited by the Deputy President of China in the Eastern Cape. He wanted to see the Eastern Cape coastline and also touch base also on the Western Cape side. So we arranged that program. So we started at Tsitsikamma, went with him to Knysna, back to Plettenberg Bay, then back into the Eastern Cape to St. Francis, and then we had a meeting with him in PE at Boardwalk. Now, that guy has masters in mathematics at Harvard University. The same guy has got a doctorate in law. Same guy. He's a deputy president of China. The leadership that you see in China are highly learned, and it is a must that every year you must do something. You must have a chance to study. So from time to time, they have sabbatical leaves to go and study and develop themselves. That's why China is able to be at that level. Secondly, when Deng Xiaoping introduced the opening up policy, I think in 1978, they focused on education. They took their best kids at grade 12 and deployed them and sent them to the best universities in the world. And that was deliberate. All over the world, the best universities, they sent them there. They completed their junior degrees, their honors, masters, others did PhD. They then deployed them in companies in those countries for a period of about 3 years. After 3 years, they brought them back to China. And they requested mentors and coaches from those companies, and they paid for those mentors to come to China to work with these kids to establish industries. After 3 years, those guys were sent back to their countries, those coaches. And these kids were allowed to run these industries on their own and learn from their own mistakes. That's why China is at that level. So it has adopted a meritocratic approach to governance of the state. So that's why here we're talking about building a capable, ethical developmental state. We can't be a developmental state if we don't have capacity to implement our agenda as a state. And that means all the institutions of government must embrace this ethical way of doing things, must have high standards in terms of governance, and so on and so on. 5 days ago, the Premier delivered the State of the Province address, whose priorities are aligned to the national government priorities. The State of the Province address also outlined the 5 frontiers of growth, underpinned by skills development and infrastructure development. We identified 5 frontiers of growth, and we said skills development and infrastructure development are cross-cutting across all those 5 frontiers of growth. These frontiers of growth are areas where the Eastern Cape has a competitive advantage. Number 1 is agriculture. And we view it as a game changer. We have the best land, we have best climatic conditions in the province. Our land is so rich and it's not contaminated. A number of arable pieces of land have not been used for more than 30 years. So in essence, we have a virgin soil in the Eastern Cape. And a number of other food producing companies, your famous brand, your Tiger brand, your RCL, these big guys, your Robertson and all that, they are looking at the Eastern Cape for their salvation. Ichilis between batuze bayifumana funeka bayithatha komandla Malawi bayithatha China. Ichilis, they are in demand of coriander, paprika, ezinto zenza spices. Ngifuna ungixelela ubana ezo zinto ezasinakwazi uzilima thina apha. And they told us that because of climate change has messed up with as countries ba-order kuzo massively. So they are looking at us now to produce for them. So if we change the way we approach agriculture, identify critical commodities, including the livestock improvement and all that, will change the picture of the Eastern Cape. I'm expanding on this thing, agriculture, because I'm not sure whether you are also offering anything that has to do with agriculture as Lovedale TVET College. Because in 2010, the King Yinsa TVET College was working on establishing that campus as a tech, as their agricultural campus. They revitalized, used the conditional grant revitalization to revive that campus as an agricultural campus. Because in the whole of Tsentane, that land is so rich. And they had already taken steps to connect to the Department of Health, because they were going to supply milk and eggs and all that to the hospital as a Tafalofef, as a market yabo yokuqala, before they move to uCentane and move to Butterworth and other parts of the province for a produce hub. So there was that idea as far back. I'm not sure how far they are with respect to that. So the reason why I'm raising this thing is because as you review your policies and your offerings, you also need to look at where is the province going? Where are we strong as a province? And then where do we fit in as a TVET college in supporting those initiatives of the province? The second frontier of growth is oceans economy. In 2019, we developed the master plan to unleash the potential of the oceans economy in the province. We have 800-kilometer coastline. We have so much potential. But what happens is that the shipping industry or fishing industry, they fish in the Eastern Cape, they process in Cape Town. Fish in the Eastern Cape, process in Durban. There's no processing that is taking place here in the Eastern Cape, but they get their fish from the Eastern Cape coastline. We allocated licenses to 73 cooperatives along the coastline of the Eastern Cape, from Kokama up to Bizan. But they're struggling with the equipment and all that. But thanks to the Premier, he has committed to support them. In the State of the Province address, he has committed to fund that as a start, especially to get them boats, and also build small harbors for them to be able to launch their boats by Baoloba and all that. So there are a lot of opportunities in the space of the oceans economy. And you need to define your niche area as the Lovedale TVET College. In which part of that oceans economy do you want to play a role as a TVET college? The third part is manufacturing that we have identified. In the manufacturing sector, we are still dependent on the auto sector, the automotive sector, because we have Mercedes-Benz, we have VW, we have Isuzu, we also have engines, Ford. We are manufacturing those engines here and then supplying those engines to that Swan SEZ, which is manufacturing your Ford Rangers for the whole world. Now, the auto sector has complained that what they get from the TVET colleges is nowhere closer to what they need in terms of capabilities. And hence the AIDC, the Auto Industry Development Center, then decided to partner with education to focus on the STEM subjects, your science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, to jack up that area. Because the OEMs, these auto industries, they want the top end of your students, because they are competing with the best in the world. In India, China, South Korea, Japan, Germany, the pass rate in mathematics and science, the average, is 85% and above. In South Africa, the pass rate is far below 85%. And then it differs from school to school. But the average, as we speak, yes, science, it was 76% up to 2024. And the mathematics, it is 16%. And it's for the first time that we're even able to break 60%. We've been below 60% for the better part of the 30 years of our freedom. Now they are raising that issue. So That's why we struggle ke ngoku to ensure that your kids that come out of your TVET colleges are able to be absorbed. They can't be absorbed because they look also, wayifunda phi? I-mathematics ne-science wayipase kangakanani? Because they want people that are creative, people that are innovative. So there is a need ke ngoku to not only work with the Department of Basic Education on these matters, but also there is a need for TVET colleges themselves to say, how are we going to boost the capabilities of our learners, especially on the STEM subjects, so that they can be able to be ready for the market after school. The fourth area is tourism, which a number of TVET colleges are also offering. We have a great potential here, especially with the iconic projects that we're developing in the province. Your Msikaba Bridge and your Tendu Bridge, which is going to be the highest bridge in the whole continent. Those two bridges are in that side, Lasel Sigisig. Is the new road that is being currently built now. So the people of Pondoland, they've agreed to give us 15,000 hectares of land around the two bridges to create land conservation. Land has parks. So if you have parks there, you are able to protect other areas and structure your development kakuhle, and able to attract tourists in that area and use tourists as a lever to turn around that area. So we have such initiatives that are in place, and therefore you need to position yourselves around land tourism kakuhle as a TVET college. The fifth one is digital transformation. And if we are not dealing with this issue of digital transformation or getting on board, we'll be left behind completely. Ke ndimva kuPremier esithi xa ezama uthetha nabantu mabaphume kwinto engazubasandawo, athi ka phuma kulo shawara commands. Ingathi ngesiphuma kule shower yokucinga bafanele the old ways of doing things are going to help us. So we need to move away from that and focus on this thing, digital transformation. I'll talk to that a little bit more later. So these are the areas that the Eastern Cape has competitive advantage on. And with the Department of Education improving results for the first time, where we clock 85% and 87% nationally and 84.9% in the province. We have created now a problem for higher education. We have about 45% of our kids are getting bachelors. And I think KZN has got more than 50%, and Gauteng, of kids that got bachelors. But we have fewer universities to capture all that supply of students that want to go to university. Even the capacity of TVET colleges is not enough to absorb those kids. And therefore, there's a need for us to change the way we do things. And maybe look at other platforms that we started during the COVID period. E-learning and all that. I think we need to go big on that so that other kids that cannot be absorbed in the TVET college can also register, but through e-learning platforms, so that they are not left out. And the number of students that we are throwing into the deep end by not affording them education is so huge. And if awufundi, I-exposure yakho to drugs, to other social ills, and all that are so many. To the extent that mhlawumbe ungayiluzi education unaphakade, ungene deep into that crisis, and you are unable to extricate yourself from that crisis. So these are some of the things that we need to be looking at to ensure that we create access to education and to skills opportunities for our kids. So as part of this policy conference, you also need to attend to that. We also agreed as a province that there are areas where we need to collaborate. One of those areas is inclusive early childhood development and learner attainment. I don't talk about basic education, yet song. We need to be working with basic education to say, early childhood development. I saw some of the videos that were showing how in China they are nurturing your 0 to 5 kids, exposing them to everything that they are going to be confronted with in life so that they can pick them up at that early stage over which areas they are interested in and they are good at. Whether it's arts, it's defense, and all that. Benza zonke zazinto ezenziwa xa kutrainwa amajoni ne-special force and all that. But zonke zenziwa apha eCrich, zenziwa apha as exercise. And then you can pick up ubana umntu good kwentweni na. They put everything, engineering, zonke izinto. Ezethu ke sibabeke ebaleni ke kuculwe. Kuqhwatywa izandla, andithi uba singazipreserve i-culture yethu and all that. But these are the things that, from your experience of the current moment in the TVET sector, what is it that can be done at an early age from 0 to 5? Fortunately, the Department of Basic Education has developed what is called Thrive by 5 Index, which will guide us on what is it that we need to do for 0 to 5 years, so that when they get to school at age 6, they are thriving. They must thrive in all respects. They must be healthy. They must not be stunted. Their cognitive skills must have been developed. Their language development, their motor skills, and all that. They have listed all those things in that Thrive by 5. You can Google it. You'll get a very beautiful, and it shows where we are as a country and where each province is in terms of those 5 domains that are listed there. That should be used as our planning tool on what is it that we need to do in the space of early childhood development. There's youth development, skills development, and training for the economy. That's another area that we have identified as an integration area where we need to be working together as various departments, entities, TVET colleges, universities, to address this matter. What we are training this side is not aligned to what the industry needs this side. There's misalignment. As a result, all our kids that are graduating are unemployable, cannot be employed anywhere because of that misalignment. So we need to close the gap between ourselves as the institutions of higher learning and the industry. We need to sit down, but in the future we're moving in this direction. For example, we are moving in the direction of EVs now. So the strategy of the auto sector is that by 2035, we must do away with gasoline driven vehicles. Move towards electrical vehicles, move towards hydrogen-driven vehicles, or other fuels, or any other fuel that is green, that will not have your carbon emissions. So, we have installed your charging stations in the province already. So if you move in the province, you don't move more than 300 kilometers without getting a charging station to charge your electric vehicle. Are we starting to train our kids on electric vehicles, on those lithium batteries, how to deal with that? Are we training our kids on the renewable energy, the installation of solar panels, the repairs and all that in terms of those solar geysers and all that? Is that part of our agenda so that we are aligned to the demands of the economy? So that's what we mean by youth development, skills development, and training for the economy. On infrastructure, human settlements, and broadband is another third integration area, because we are big on this space as a province. But what is it that we are doing to ensure that those that are doing engineering, we can partner with the necessary departments, Department of Human Settlements, Department of Public Works, Department of Transport, so that as they contract with the various contractors, we can place our kids there to learn so that others can also be absorbed. We have seen a number of them being absorbed after doing their internship in those companies. So that's another area. And then it's the inclusive economic growth. That's another area where you can fit in, as well as the transformation, governance, and municipal support. So we therefore need to shape how do we fit ourselves as the TVET colleges into these policies of government that government wants to drive. What will be our contribution? Because you must be relevant to the environment. Otherwise, as TVET colleges will be irrelevant if they are not going to be responding to the challenges that society is faced with. So I think this conference is meant to assist us to achieve that. We have set clear targets for ourselves for 2030. We said we want to ensure that we improve life expectancy. Could we go to a human development index? We are not doing right as a province. Human development index is about your health status as well as your education status. That contributes to that human development index. In the Eastern Cape, we are currently at 61 years average amadoda. Amadoda pillar on average 61 years. Or mama, they live up to 67. That's the latest now. Abona amadoda sasaqwalasela futhi ezantsi hayi senizawuhamba. So we have seen some improvements in the past 10 years, from 2019, because we were at 57 amadoda in 2019. In 2019, we were at 57 years average life expectancy. Omama were at 61. The reason why that is the case, in the province we have 21,000 people that are in jail. Our prisons can only accommodate 13,000, but we have 21,000. Of that 21,000, about 20,400 are men, and only about 600 are women that are in jail. No, these are facts. These are facts. They were presented to us by the commissioner, who is the head of correctional services in the province, only in December. Sithi abantu aba-involved kwi-violence kakhulu. Sithi abasela utywala ingathi uyabuya uYesu ngomso. Ngamadoda anyuke sihla apha, abanye echola izinto emigqomeni. There are very few women abaphazamisekileyo and all that. So we have set ourselves a target of 70 years as our life expectancy in 2030. 2, we have set ourselves another target of 20% of the people that must have a post-secondary education. Currently, we only have 10% of the people in the Eastern Cape that have got post-secondary education. 10%. So we have set a target that this by 2030, in the next 5 years, we need to ensure that more people graduate and have access to higher education qualifications. At least maybe 20%, and then we'll push it up as we move on. We want to reduce our unemployment rate from the current 37% to 10% in 2030. We also want to reduce unemployment from 49, the youth unemployment, because it's different. When you break down the unemployment, broadly, you find that the youth unemployment is higher, it's at 49. And we want to reduce to 6, because we don't want to have a crisis of young people that are idle, because you will see what is currently happening now. They are involved in all sorts of things that are happening. In terms of economic growth, we want to see us at 5% by 2030. We are currently at 2.1%, which is not enough to create jobs. The Premier has asked that to push that at least to 3%, but in terms of the target over the next 5 years, we are setting our eyes on 5%, and we need to do everything in our power, including pushing up the skilling, especially in our institutions of higher learning and the TVET sector in particular, to contribute towards this growth. When we, on the 18th to 21st of February, we hosted the Minister of Department of Employment and Labor hosted the G20 Employment Working Group in Port Elizabeth, because this year we are hosting this G20. So we're having 52 meetings. So that spread all over provinces. In the province, we're going to have 4. And one of them is the employment working group. So it's set to look at the challenge that was identified in 2015 by the G20, to say there are a number of kids that are going to be left out, that would be at the risk of being permanently left behind in the labor market. And that number is so huge, and it must be reduced by 15% from 2015 to 2025. So the assessment is that by 2022 report, which was looking at that goal, it discovered that out of 19 countries, 12 countries at least are likely to meet that goal. But in South Africa, Korea, Indonesia, Brazil are way behind. We are not going to be able to meet that goal, because when they look at those that are not in education, not in employment, not in training, the level at which we are now is below the level at which we were in 2014. In actual fact, those not in education, not in employment, not in training, has gone up. So we need to find a way of ensuring that those that are not in employment, abayeke phambi kwexesha, a primary school, they don't even have a primary qualification. Abanye, they don't have a secondary qualification. That need is that cohort of people. Abana skills, abana now. We need to find a way. How are you going to be responding to that as a TVET college sector to reduce that or ensure that those people are not left behind in the labor market? The issue of the mismatch is another issue I raised earlier on, and there are a number of proposals that are being made. I think Nelson Mandela University made very beautiful proposals in that G20 session in PE on how we can respond to this. But one of the issues is this issue of promoting STEM education, your artificial intelligence and digital literacy that is aligned to the interest of the industry. I've spoken to the issue of employability, and that would require that the issue of the 4IR, your artificial intelligence, we need to move very, very swift in that space. Now, higher education must also reposition itself in relation to the skills of the future, your 21st century skills. Basic education has already developed competency frameworks to say, umntana xa ephuma eprimary, kufuneka aphume neziphi ii-competencies. Andithi mna epasile nje. Kufuneka epasile ene-competencies that will make that kid to be able to thrive at secondary education. Xa ephuma ku-grade 12, a grade 12 learner epasileyo must have this list of competencies. But the challenge ke ngoku higher education has not moved in step with this competency framework, so that sithi umntana ophuma e-TVET college kufuneka eneziphi competencies such that laa mntana is able to thrive beyond that TVET college education. We are talking about learning skills, which is critical thinking and problem solving, communication, collaboration, creative thinking. We are talking about literacy skills, which is information, media, technology. We are talking about life skills, which is flexibility, leadership, initiative, productivity, and social skills. So they are categorized into about 3, which is your literacy skills, your life skills, as well as the learning skills. Where are you as the TVET sector in terms of these 21st century skills? Are your kids getting out of your spaces with these 3 categories or these 12 skills of the future? The Presidential 4IR Commission report also presents a clear guide to address deficiencies in our education system that limits our learners from becoming productive labor participants. There are a lot of proposals that have been made by Professor Makwala, who was the president at the time. Chairperson ngesesondela selendinishile apha sendi-injury time. But I just want to lift just few things. The new skills now, which sometimes they talk about the future of work. The future of work is changing. So the new jobs that are informed by the new technologies. So one of them is your e-commerce and social media specialist. Your data analyst, your data scientist, your software developers, application developers, artificial intelligence and machine learning, your big data, your information security analyst, your blockchain scientists, your biotechnologists, your robotic engineers, and your human-machine interaction designers, etc. So the 4IR Commission listed a number of those as new jobs now that the world is moving towards, shifting from other ones that we used to have before. Are we positioning ourselves as the TVET sector in the direction of these new jobs, which are termed the future of work? Are we positioning ourselves into that? So I'm just pricking your mind that as you deal with this issue of the policy challenges and reshaping your policy agenda as the TVET sector, these are the issues that you need to take into consideration. Lastly, what brought you here will not take you there. What brought you, Jason Goldberg, the art of scale. The art of scale. When you want to grow and scale up your organization. Utigepa, what brought you kulenda ibangele ubana ubizele conference will not take you there. What brought you to the no man's land will not take you to the promised land. So you need to change your mindset. Because we want to scale up. So you can't use the same methods as Hikfage Evalin to scale up. So you need to change your mindset. He goes further to say, if you are going to deal with issues of policy, redirection, or policy change, or a strategy, the purpose of the strategy is to answer one question. How are we going to be number one in our game? So in this meeting, we need to be saying, how is the Lovedale College and other TVET colleges going to be number one in their game? How are we going to position ourselves and be seen as number one? How are we going to be number one in the customer's mind? Compared to others. How do you make yourselves to be number one in the minds of the ordinary people that tend to look at you down? And that is the question that you need to answer as you engage. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Dr. Krosi, for a very stimulating challenge. You've made my life a little bit difficult as the program director, but I think the insights that we have gleaned from your presentation are going to be very useful in this deliberation. I think you were quite on point in pointing out where the priorities are and some of those areas of the misalignment. So we've got food for thought in the sessions that we are going to be engaging with, and thank you very much for that. We're going to try and steam ahead as best as we can. We are not doing that great time-wise. At this point in time, I'm going to call the principal, the acting principal of the college, Lovedale College, Ms. Tuletu Njengele. She's going to give us the keynote. We may call it the keynote of keynote. The address is entitled Bridging the Divide, Enhancing Policy Frameworks for Effective TVET College Transformation in South Africa. Let's give a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Director. I feel so much motivated after the opening address of our DDG. To the Program Director, the members of the Department of Higher Education and Training that are here, specifically Mr. Sonti. We feel very much honored to have you, my brother, here. You are no more a colleague now, you are a brother to us at Lovedale. The college principals that are here, my colleagues, our partners that are here, the college council, and also other college council members from other college principal, not observing any other colleagues because of time. I would love to say all protocol observed. Good morning. Mine is more on setting the tone for the conference. The topic is bridging the divide, enhancing policy frameworks for effective TVET college transformation in our country. Let me then take this opportunity to welcome you in this pivotal conference on transforming TVET. It is indeed an honor to have you all here today, and we are excited to engage in such a diverse and passionate group of, with such a passionate group of attendees. Your presence underscores the importance of our collective mission to enhance TVET. Today we gather to address the pressing challenges within our TVET policy frameworks, and not only focus on pressing challenges, but to take it further and propose strategies for effective transformation that will meet the needs of both our learners or our students, as well as our economy. To do that, we need to zoom into the key challenges and gaps in the current TVET policy framework. We need to identify challenges and gaps in the following areas. Number one, the access and inclusion. I think in the opening address, you could see the need for us to think outside the box when it comes to opening up access. We need to zoom into the gaps in terms of ensuring our policies, ensuring equitable access to TVET for all, including vulnerable groups such as women, rural populations, as well as the people with disabilities. Number two, in the area of quality and relevance, aligning TVET curricula with industry needs and ensuring high quality training that meets the labor market demands. It is indeed, colleagues, calling upon us this situation whereby in terms of the programs that we offer, you find that they are not really relevant in terms of the context of where our colleges are. The third one is on student-based projects and digital transformation. I think the DDG has talked in terms of digital transformation. I won't dwell there. We will tackle this one as we go along. So we need to zoom into promoting student-based projects to ensure that the students acquire real-life experiences and develop entrepreneurial skills in the process. I would want to quote that it is indeed true that what has brought us here, really, it will not take us to where we want to be as a sector. I think that statement, it's what we need to take and go along as we debate in this conference. The last one is on policy implementation, bridging the gap between the policy formulation and implementation and policy implementation. the gap between policy formulation and policy implementation so that we are able to achieve desired outcomes. Definitely, as we are zooming into those policy gaps, we need also to reflect back and check, are there any best practices and successful models from other countries that we can learn from? Number one, I would just note that Germany's dual system, which integrates academic learning with hands-on apprenticeships, resulting in high employment rates among graduates. The second one of the working system is that of the Singapore's Skills Future Initiative. That initiative promotes lifelong learning and continuous skills development, ensuring that the workforce remains adaptable and is ready to face the future. The third one that we can learn from is the Australia's employer-led training, which involves a strong collaboration between training providers as well as employers, ensuring that training is aligned with industry needs. So those are the three that I've just highlighted, models that we can learn from which we can be able to benchmark and take forward. We're also proposing strategies for enhancing TVET policies and frameworks. To enhance our TVET policies and frameworks, we are proposing the following strategies. Number one, strengthening industry partnerships. Without that one, I don't see us moving forward, colleagues, in terms of pushing the TVET mandate. And that must be very, very loud in terms of our policy framework, where we foster collaborations between TVET institutions and industry to ensure curricula are aligned with market needs and provide students with real-world experience. The second one is on promoting inclusivity, where we develop targeted initiatives to ensure equitable access to TVET for all, including the marginalized groups. The third one is enhancing quality assurance, where we look at how we implement a robust quality assurance mechanisms to maintain high quality standards in TVET education. I really want us here to focus on issues of monitoring and evaluation, that is our M&E, alignment of the GNU priorities with our policies, as well as making sure that we integrate our maturity model so that whatever that we are doing is able to give us a policy framework that is assisting us to take our colleges and our sector forward. The fourth one is supporting lifelong learning, where we encourage continuous skills development through initiatives like your micro-credentials, meaning that your part qualifications through the QCTO programs, as well as your digital learning platforms. I can't emphasize more in terms of us exploring the digital space in our TVET sector. The fifth one and the last one, colleagues, is promoting community integration, where we position our TVET colleges as integral part of our communities. I want to challenge all of us in this conference that let us look at how we can utilize the student alumni. We integrate that in terms of our policy directives so that this promotion of community integration is more relevant. That is, through your student alumni, your student-based community projects, student leadership, through sport, art, and culture, so that in terms of the communities that we are serving, there is an integration there. The sixth one and the last one is on improving policy implementation, where we establish clear guidelines and accountability to ensure effective implementation of TVET policies. Therefore, out of all these, in this conference, we will drive this through the conference agenda with the clearly defined key themes. So over these 2 days, we will delve into the several key things that we have highlighted as a vehicle to make sure that this policy conference achieves what it is intended to. Number one, in terms of those themes, the first one is identifying policy gaps in the TVET sector, where we are focusing on identifying and understanding the gaps and obstacles that we face as colleges and as a sector at large. The emphasis here is on curriculum and program relevance, access and equity, industry collaboration. I'm happy that I think here we also have the voice of industry that has joined us. Governance and management is one of our focal areas here, as well as student exit support for employment. That's the first theme. The second one is the theme that is looking at ensuring policy alignment. This is where we are going to look at strategies and best practices, learning from successful models and strategies implemented in other countries. The emphasis here is more on your stakeholder engagement, where we are also going to look at your management and monitoring and evaluation, data-driven decision-making, integrated student health services, as well as capacity building. The last one is optimizing policy management for effective implementation. We'll be developing actionable plans to improve our TVET system, emphasizing on policy design and development, resource allocation, change management, communication, dissemination, and feedback mechanism, as well as risk management. These themes that we'll focus on over these 2 days, through them we will explore them, and we will come up with panel discussions, interactive sessions, which will enforce collaboration as well as innovation as we engage. We are doing all this because we are putting the importance of the TVET in our country. TVET, which is very essential in equipping our young people with the practical skills that are needed to thrive in the workplace. Unlike the traditional academic route, TVET courses are hands-on courses. They focus on experiential learning, preparing students for specific trades and careers, an approach which not only addresses the skills gap in the job market, but also enhances employability by providing industry-relevant skills. By emphasizing on practical training, TVET ensures that graduates are work-ready and are capable of handling real-world challenges from day one in the workplace. Therefore, colleagues, as we embark on this journey together, I encourage you to actively participate, share your insights, and collaborate as peers. Our main goal is to bridge the divide in our current TVET policy frameworks and to develop strategies that will lead to effective transformation. We are saying where we are is not where we want to be. It is therefore among all of us to collaborate together and engage and discuss and try to position ourselves to a position where we will be proud that we have contributed in the sector. Let us set high expectations, therefore, for ourselves and work diligently to achieve them. By addressing all these challenges and all these gaps and adopting strategies that we will propose in the conference, we can transform our TVET system to better meet the needs of our students and our economy. Let us therefore work together to bridge the divide and create a better future for all. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Memi Njengele, for that overview and really setting the stage for this conference. I think that, colleagues, those of us that were not sure in terms of where and what direction we have to take, we now have very clear marching orders in terms of where to go and what we're going to do. Your presentation has given us really good clarity. We're going to take a very short break. Because of time, we have to make up for some of the time. But I am confident that by the end of today, we will have caught up and we'll be doing very well time-wise. So we're going to, with your cooperation, of course. If I do not get your cooperation, we might still run into problems. But if we take a brief stretch break, because we are not also far from lunch, so if we just take a brief stretch break to stretch our legs, and it will allow us to get the panel on stage, and then we can continue with the program. What I would request you to do is that for those of you that have not yet registered your names for the breakaway sessions, which are going to happen after lunch, I would request you to do so in the few minutes. But if the queue is long, don't go and queue there, and because I would really want us to take 5 minutes stretch break, and then we are back in and we continue your session. Our next session is a panel discussion. It's going to be here in the plenary, and the theme of the discussion is identifying policy gaps in the TVET sector. Identifying policy gaps in the TVET sector. We have the privilege that this discussion will be facilitated by Dr. P. Keza, all the way from Limpopo, who is going to be the session facilitator for us, and he will introduce his panel when he comes in front. So in 5 minutes' time, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back and commencing with the next session. Let's take the break. Thank you.